but that was expected because we were thinking, when I wrote the morning after, it was an idea to have a bit of a discussion, and after 2 days, which I thought were, and I'm impartial, I'm not partial, of course. I'm very, very, very pleased that it worked out the way it worked out, and that everybody thought that this was a very good experience for an inaugural conference. And before I say anything else, I want you to look backward to the guys over there, and they, as we are not few, but they deserve a big applause, as well as the translators who have been working extremely hard in order to translate this. And one of the gentlemen over there came up to me, he said, "You guys are crazy, you have 1 hour, 2 hour sessions, you're gonna kill us." And I said, well, we have no such intention, but we really have to have these, this is how we operate, this is what we do. And I think we did it very well. Martin Leek, who I just met at the reception, who speaks Dutch like I do, said to me, "I have never been to a conference that gave such a cozy feeling." And he used Dutch words that is far more encompassing into that experience. So it was I thought it was a great compliment. And the fact that we have combined all these different industry groups that are all in the same industry, but often don't meet and have not really contact one another. This was the platform that proved that it is possible that we can have the conversations. And I think it was a challenge for everybody to see that, yeah, this is where we need to go. If we are going to take the industry forward, and to a next stage where we all have the same goal, and that is to make sure that diamonds remain on the mind of the consumer and as a precious, as a luxury product, and that it will remain, that it will keep its market share, and how we do that. And I think we got some answers of where we need to go with that. And now, actually, what we wanted to do is this at this conference, the main question, if you look at the questions, the sentences that we wrote in the program in the morning after show, is that what did we achieve? And I think we know more or less what we did. It's very fresh in our minds. And where do we go from here? And what are the steps that we're going to take? We don't need to try and answer every question, but of course, the conversations, as you have noted, in the corridors of these conferences are somehow the most important ones. And they set the atmosphere and make the connections that will enable us to set the agenda for a next event. Just now, in a conversation with Ursula and with Bernold of Sinova, it sprung to mind that maybe we need to think next time about a conference where we have actually a kind of hands-on experience, where we, as they do at gemological conferences. At gemological conferences, you come to a 2-day conference. In the morning, there are 6 workshops. This is a workshop about inclusions that we have found in the new source of sapphire. Yeah, you have been to many of those. It's how it is done. And maybe this is an idea of how to think what we are going to do at the Diamond Conference as to how technology is applicated, and what is the route that the diamond takes, and what role does the technology play, and how is it done? Where can we install technology in order to assure that we get this traceability process from the very source? Is that possible? Well, pie in the sky? I don't think that is the case, but if we don't start talking about and considering and setting kind of standards of how this could be done, it's never going to happen. This, for instance, is in every diamond center we do same. If in Qatar we would say we're going to try and do something new, which is an out-of-the-box thinking. In the first versions of the introductory text that I wrote, and Alex will confirm that. He said, no, let's not use that. We may talk about it. So we circle back to, I wrote, Qatar is a place and a center where diamonds, gems, and jewelry are present. And Qatar is unburdened, doesn't have the burden and the burden and the baggage of all the other centers, and has an opportunity to think out of the box. So actually, I think we established a kind of a place here where we can start a new thinking. You want to comment on that, Alex?
Yes, I do. No, I will go there because it's not nice to speak with the back to the audience. Oh, I'm going to speak a lot, if you don't mind.
That's why we're here.
So therefore, I will sit. First of all, thank you everyone who has the strength and the stamina to stay. I understand half of the people were frozen to half death, and they're still warming up in the breakfast room. We will give them the absolution because, as Jakob said, we are trying to do things differently. We tried, and I would very much like to have your opinion about whether we succeeded or not. And in our conversations yesterday with the Qatari officials, from the Prime Minister down or from the ministers up, this theme was central, whether we have accomplished something which other people haven't. And we do not pretend to be the better than others or smarter than others or doing things in a way that that would put others in a different light. No. The goal of this conference from the beginning was to have the meeting of people who never met before. I mean, Abdullah, you travel to Kimberley Process, but these are more government officials. There is almost no people who work with diamonds hands-on, and definitely no people who work with color stones hands-on, and definitely no fashion people, or people who are related to this through the other luxury sectors. So that was the goal, first, to show that our industry is part of the broader luxury industry. And we not only that we are part of this big and serious sphere, so to say, of the human consumption, but we're the very small part of it. Probably we're the smallest. If we take the turnover of fashion houses, of people who engaged in all kind of luxury spending, they talk about hundreds of billions. We barely touch 30 billions in rough and 70 billion in polished. Of course, we claim that the jewelry is, of course, big business, but we are just the components of jewelry. We're not makers of jewelry. We are selling stones. We're selling components to jewelry and watch industry, apart from, of course, bigger stones of stones who have cultural heritage, etc. So it's not that we need to know our place. I am proud to say that even though our place seems small, we have much more influence than we think. Maybe because we are very proactive. We were the first who introduced Kimberley process. The first time that industry ever took upon itself the obligation to control themselves. This was unthinkable 25 years ago. Today, everybody does it. Today, it's the obligation of every single industry to control themselves and to see where they're not hurting other people and how they work. So they learned from us, and we have nothing to be ashamed of. Having said that, we have spent quite a lot of time tapping ourselves on the shoulder. And we had several conferences later, which were mostly tapping ourselves on the shoulder. Old buddies saying thank you for other old buddies and thanking them for their lifelong achievements, which nobody knows about apart from their buddies. So here we don't want to tap anyone on the shoulder. We just want to learn and hear opinions of what people think, not only about this conference itself, how it developed and what was good and what was less good in this, and we do accept criticism and we would like someone who has it to voice criticism, but also whether you think this was useful for our business. What about Qatar we more or less know, and Abdullah is the only Qatari representative left, and I thank you for being here on your holiday. But we know why Qataris wanted to meet us, and we're happy that they did, and we're happy they have some conclusions out of this. But I would like to hear the people from the industry. What do they think, and what do they think should be done, and what we did wrong, and what we should do better on the other side? Berchot, you're the first one.
Okay, thank you very much. First, I want to say I like the conference very much. I had a lot of very interesting discussions here, and I like the format also very much. And I agree with Jacob, it was very nice, like almost a family meeting here. But I wanted to say a few things. First, I think it's a while we talk about the need of a marketing campaign. Like it has happened in a few, almost decades ago. Sorry. I think it was initiated by De Beers at that time. Now De Beers has some competitors and nobody is investing really big money into the marketing, and we have seen a wonderful video, I think yesterday, presented by David. And we talk about this. I think we have really all together, like as I said, we are a family, to invest into maybe a fund or something. And we should, everyone should contribute according to his possibilities. And then, invest into this marketing campaign and explain not the beauty and the story of the natural diamonds, not making bad the lab-grown diamonds. Of course, we should not mention them at all. Just present the particularity of the exclusivity and so on of natural diamonds. And I think that is absolutely needed. And even more for us, because I think that's the second point I want to mention, is the lack of a brand. We say, when you go into a luxury jewelry shop and you want to buy diamond jewelry, and you compare this when you go buying a car or a handbag and so on, then you look for the names. But who knows a manufacturer of diamonds? The name maybe Tiffany is known, but otherwise, it's so important that we have brands like Mercedes, like Porsche and so on in the car industry, Louis Vuitton for the handbags, but we haven't that for the diamonds. So the identification with the name is not really existing. So I think we should think about how we can either create brands, new brands, or how we can replace the lack of a brand in our industry.
If I may address what you just said, this is one of the topics we've been discussing for the last 20 years. So we always complain about lack of branding. But coming back again to what was said before, we have no right to have brands. I will be very blunt. We sell components. People know Mercedes. They don't know who supplies the nuts and bolts for Mercedes. We are nuts and bolts. So the only way we can go around and say we are nuts and bolts brand is to promote countries which this is coming from. These are our only brands. This is, again, it's my opinion. If somebody has different opinion, this is our only remaining hope, let's put it this way. the producing countries have to take things in their own hands. And they need to come up with the branding proposition which will make other people pay for this. And they had to contribute themselves. There is no other way. Whatever we do, there is no brand. And we cannot have a brand because we have no right to the brand. Neither of us is owner of diamonds, except Congolese, Angolans, Central Africans, Botswanese, and others.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. This is what I mean also with replacing the lack of brand. But if you go to the GCK show, then you see a lot of booths with typical Indian diamond manufacturers showing their diamond in jewels. So they try to, to present and to market their name and their brand. But people don't identify with these names. No. And I think that's a problem. And I dream about seeing on the GCK show booths from African countries. There should be a Botswana booth, there should be a Namibia booth, and so on. And presenting the...
I have news for you.
Okay.
We have managed in 6 days, thank for Rachel, who was so exhausted that she's still asleep, to put together the diamond education booth dedicated to producing countries, including Botswana, in the show here in the DECC. So anyone who will go there will see it, up to the point that we managed to make the cake in the form of diamond mine, and we're going to feed kids with the pieces of the diamond mine when they come to the show during these 5 days. So, again, thank you very much, Rachel. She's not here, but she and Charlotte and some other delegates put absolutely incredible effort to make it happen, which is even much more commendable than us putting the conference in 2 months, putting the booth in the DSCC about diamonds in 6 days. It's like a God made earth in the 7 days. So it's more or less similar achievements. And by the way, we need to thank NDC, we need to thank De Beers, we need to thank Lucara, we need to thank all the contributors to this cause. Without their help, it wouldn't happen, but it did. So this is the first thing that ever happened in the high-end jewelry show in the world that addresses where the diamonds come from and how they are branded. So, and I'm extraordinarily proud with this achievement, and again, kudos for everyone who did it. Sorry.
Wonderful, yeah, great. No, I'm very happy to hear this. Maybe a last point and maybe a question addressed to Qatar here. I dream about a large cutting and polishing facility here in Qatar. I think Qatar can be there a pioneer and support the African diamond industry by offering excellent conditions and infrastructure for manufacturing the diamonds. And because some of the countries, it will not be easy to install a very modern cutting and polishing facilities with the latest automation and laser technology. But I think we can together also collect the funding for this and establish here in this continent, this country, the most modern diamond manufacturing factory, and this would really help the entire African diamond.
This is what everybody understands, that Qatar cannot compete with India in terms of polishing pricing. It's impossible, so there's no question about it. Economically, it's unviable, and nobody will ever do it. On the other hand, what you're saying makes, in my opinion, again, makes a lot of sense, and whoever thinks otherwise, please go ahead. So we need to address the problem of how it will benefit the producing countries, because we're not in the business of taking their working places out of producing countries who are trying to establish the polishing industry and bringing them here to Qatar, where the labor costs 10 times more. We are more in business to helping them to make more money for their diamonds, probably. And this will be the compelling reason to even think about this proposal. If we can put a proposal whether bringing high-end technology with funding here and establishing here the, if I may say it, not R&D, but kind of cutting-edge polishing facility, which again will still need the labor of final polishing of the stones, unless you come up with new ideas and of new technologies, then it might make sense to everyone. Because at the end of the day, the business sense is most important, and the second is the beneficiation sense, because the producer countries, they need to develop their own skills and their own opportunities for their youth. So if we can address these things together, perhaps we can work out some interesting solution. I would like to hear from Frank. You are not a diamond person, which I'm very happy of. And you are but you're not an outsider. You have 30 years of luxury behind you. Please, everybody who will speak should come here. It will be fun. And I would like to hear from you. First, what do you think? Second, what do you advise? And third, what can we contribute to the development of the overall luxury industry, if we can?
This is really not a setup. I made some notes expecting Alex or someone else to ask this question, and I was a little bit insecure after these 2 days of what I could respond. Being a consultant, obviously there's an obligation to provide some solution, not only describing a problem and asking the customer, what would you do, but to provide from my side some summary.
Frank, take the microphone close.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Better? Thank you. We have met in Tel Aviv for the President's meeting in 2017, if I recall the date correctly. And interestingly, the major topics were improving the supply chain, what will happen with lab-grown diamonds, who is the customer, who is the consumer. And obviously, these three questions were the same here. So a critical question from my side would be, what has happened in the meantime, as we are still debating the same questions and not solutions. And it seems to me, which is quite normal, that the missing link is an ability or a will to speak about the consumer. Now, let me try to give a creative answer to your question. Coming from the branding side, having helped a lot of brands to do that journey. We all have been to Paris. We have been to Trocadero. What do we witness when we look on the beautiful Eiffel Tower? We see a lot of fake bags, leather belts, other consumer goods being sold at low price. So here the journey starts for any industry, whether it is leather, bags, shoes, diamonds, to understand what is happening there. So we have actually, if we think about it, 3 target groups in addressing, and that's my example, lab-grown diamonds. You have those who will always be smart shoppers, cheaters, going for the best deal. And then you will have the purists, those who would never touch lab-grown diamonds because they are purists. And then you have those in between who do not know, shall I not? And if you look, if you're in that very real-life situation, you see some woman hesitating. Shall I not? It's a deal. It looks like a Louis Vuitton, but is 10% of the value. So how can we address that in a real-life situation? We need, and here my notes do come in, we need to make sure that the lady who is hesitating to buy a lab-grown diamond, maybe 30 years old, relatively good income, that the shopping experience in that moment is not a nice one. It's cheating, and you're not really enjoying the moment. Here's the Eiffel Tower, you're going to a nice restaurant the evening, and then you spend some $50 on a Louis Vuitton bag. That is not a nice shopping experience. Second, following the life cycle, the daily cycle, and the life cycle of the consumer, there will be a moment when that Louis Vuitton fake will fall apart. And that is a horrible situation. Maybe you're just together with your girlfriends, and at that very moment, the thing gets broken. How embarrassing. And then there comes this next embarrassing moment when maybe the daughter steals the bag for going out with her friends, and the girls would say, but that's a fake. So what I'm trying to convey to you is this psychological aspect of life situations where the consumer is confronted with a dilemma, with a problem, with an embarrassing moment. Now, what I have tried to explain, you can put it into the positive way. So there's a lady having bought a real Louis Vuitton bag, and 10 years later, she just grabs it, and it's still there. It's still the same quality. It still hasn't fallen apart. And she's happy to give it to her daughter in full trust because it will be a safe moment for her. And in the meantime, the same bag may cost the double price because the resale value or the public price has moving up. So in digging into these real life situations, we become branders. We understand the consumer. So my wish, in comparison to this conference and all the others that have taken place for a long time, as you indicate, is a creative focus on the consumer. Who are target groups? What are the lifetime situations of these women, men? What are their ages? What are their dreams? And we simply discover the consumer together. And once we have done that, you as non-branders will gain the confidence in saying, yeah, I understand that because I'm a consumer too, and I can follow you. So once that understanding is there, the next step would be, to collect money along the value chain, and then to create, if not existing, a neutral body that goes beyond what David has shown us yesterday. David's wonderful movie was a technical explanation of the difference between lab-grown and mine diamonds. But the consumer may be confused in a technical discussion. So we've got to explain on an emotional level, on a social relevant level, what the risks are if she or he invests into lab-grown diamond. And that is a psychological thing, and that is what agencies do. So you create a neutral body, you collect money along the value chain, and then we get into the creative part of creating campaigns that are relevant to the consumer. And that would be my strongest recommendation, that we shift from this linear observation of the industry into a concentric one where the demands of the consumer are central, are the focus. Have I answered your question?
Yes, but I still have a question to you, going back to our conversation with Bernard. In the absence of clearly defined branding on our side, what do you think, being the part of the huge brands like Richemont and Swatch and the being part of these huge conglomerates, do you see how do you see their attitude towards someone like us, who basically is their supplier, to go and start promoting something that they may approve or disapprove, or see it as a competition to their interest? Would they support this kind of thing?
For sure, I have no doubt about it, because we are all rowing in the same boat. Whether it is diamond, leather, cars, watches, we all face the same issues as we have discussed yesterday. I think the issue is you are not taking seriously, because
I agree with you.
you do not invest into that effort to understand the world of the brands. That is this psychological challenge of convincing the consumer. So if you try to understand the world of branding through your own proposals, in making the link between the technical aspects of lab-grown versus mine diamonds, plus some ideas about the creative aspect, how can we convince the consumer on a attractive, relevant, emotional level, then they will take you serious, and then they will be ready to give money. Listen, Alex, the French luxury industry is based on cooperation. You have the Comité Colbert, which is financed basically by the big brands. You have Alta Gamma in Italy. You have Fédération Horlogère in Switzerland. So the industry as such is not against it. The question is, how do you build up your credibility to become a partner on the same level as the industry?
Thank you, Frank. Credibility is the word. Abdullah, please.
Yeah, sorry. Frank, I have a question from a consumer point of view in relation to your previous question or your previous insight and related to the branding. I would like to share my personal insight as a consumer that might give you some kind of more thinking about how to address these branding issues. My first example is that the consumers, as you mentioned in the Eiffel Tower and people buying fake products or fake luxury, there is an issue here. The first issue is the brand itself. They are not giving the consumer more information or more. Why would I buy a Louis Vuitton? People think that buying a Louis Vuitton is because the superstars buy the Louis Vuitton, so I would buy a Louis Vuitton. Some people might understand this. This is wrong. The brand should tell me, why should I buy this Louis Vuitton? Is it because of the quality? Is it because of where it has been made of? How many years it took to design this bag? What if I am holding an original bag? Why should I hold an original bag? Why shouldn't I hold a fake bag? These consumer questions, people don't know. The young generation, they just watch TikTok, Instagram. They see somebody riding a private jet, buying a Richard Mille watch, whatever. But they don't understand what is this brand, why people are buying these expensive brands. Today, everybody's buying based on, what they see in the, social media platform. But they don't understand why I need to buy an original, piece of art. Whether it's diamond, whether it's, people will think, okay, it's a diamond, yeah? It's white, it's colory, it's flashy. People want a necklace, people want, yeah? But they don't understand, why should I buy this particular diamond from this particular country? What is the advantage? You guys have to, educate the consumer. If you want to, kill these issues, you need to first educate the consumer. And you have to find these branding gimmick that will make the consumer understands why they need to buy the product or the brand itself, and not just because somebody's wearing the brand or just because the brand is expensive or it has high market value or it retain the price. Yes, everybody. Yeah, if I was an investor, of course, if I'm an investor, I want to buy some art piece that I believe that in value of time it will increase the price. Of course, I'll buy it but the normal general consumer who are not investors or who does not understand this, they will only buy it based on what they see on the people who are wearing it, whether it's from the rich, from the poor, from different aspects of society. People would love to own something that looks nice, looks great, feels good, But the problem is they don't understand what it is. And unfortunately, what I see in the market, in the branding industry, is they don't educate the consumer. They have an, sorry to say this, they have an idea. Okay, you want to buy, for example, a Hermes, a Birkin, a Kelly. What they tell the consumer, oh, you want this Birkin Kelly? Open a profile. How much the profile? Make 300,000 riyal, 1 million riyal, and then maybe I'll put you on a wishing list. Maybe I'll give you the bag. And people go crazy for it. Yeah, but then that's not the right way of, marketing or selling a brand. A brand, if somebody wants to buy a brand, they need to understand why I need this brand. What added value to my my household to hold this brand. But unfortunately, it is what it is, and we understand the different marketing dynamics when it comes to the brand. But think about it from a consumer point of view, right? If you want a consumer not to go to the wrong path or to the wrong road, you need to also think about it within yourselves to create that kind of mindset for the consumer to not, always educate them that it is better to buy original because of these things. And it's not because it's hard to get. No, it's because, that is why it's hard to get. It's not because I put you on a waiting list. No, you know that this bag takes time. For me to manufacture, it takes at least maybe 7 years, 8 years, etc. You need to create a story, but a genuine story. And the branding should be as genuine as it possibly be. So the consumer, when they want to buy it, sorry to say this, as I'm talking from a consumer point of view, I feel that yes, I'd rather put 30,000 riyal on this luxury item because I believe in this luxury item. I understand the dynamics of why I need to pay 30,000 riyal worth of merchandise, or 50 or 60 or 100 or a million. So, yes, I know. The more you can story tell it and sell it to me in a genuine, and if I believe in that the storytelling or the branding makes sense, I'd pay 1 million, I'd pay 30,000, I'd pay whatever the price is, but you have to convince me. But unfortunately, consumers are still not yet that, educated, or they are seeing the brand in a different philosophy. But this is all my question for today.
You are a very busy man, but if you have a moment, may I invite you to some of my consultancy projects, and together we tackle the luxury industry. I'm 120% with you, and so the issues you have within the industry are the same with the luxury industry. Many brands have forgotten how to brand a brand, how to create this sphere of myth, of exclusivity, and I'm completely with you. And this is why, if you look at market capitalization of stock-listed luxury brands, many of them have gone down because the consumers are losing faith because they don't feel that the brands are still speaking to them. Now, again, with regard to Alex's question, that is a task that we all, as a luxury industry and within the various segments, have to tackle together, because it's the same consumer. We need to convince you when you buy a bag for your wife, when you buy a car for yourself or a watch, and we're doing not enough. At the end, it's a creative process, and please have the guts to not fear the consumer and to go where the consumer is with his dreams, fears, hopes. And that is an interesting, fantastic process to discover the consumer. And once we have done that, the job, I promise you, is easy to explain. Lab-grown diamonds and ESG and all the topics we have with regard to the diamond and gemstone industry. It's an effort you should try at least. Also at conferences, invite branders from the agencies and invite successful brands such as Brunello Cucinelli, invite Chopard to get a feedback whether ethical gold as a statement when selling the watches is a positive experience. So reach out to the brands and let's discuss together who is this consumer, how does she or he work, what can we do to make the consumption experience again attractive, relevant, and emotionally valuable. And you can do that. Don't fear. Don't remain technical.
Thank you, Frank and Pana.
Firstly, Frank, thank you so much for educating our husbands about the power of Louis Vuitton and Chopard, and they live here knowing that we have been investing, not wasting money at home. So I want to invite you and tell you that you have a place in our table at home. We can take this discussion forward. You are my favorite person from this conference from today onwards. So, on behalf of producing countries, I want to say thank you to the organizers, because we have quality diamonds. I was saying to Richard yesterday that Middle Orange River, we're still selling at $3,000 per carat. That's the power of the quality of those documents on a good tender week. But we become so embedded with our own issues internally and in our own countries that we forget about the consumer. We forget about the big conversations. We forget about the marketing. We forget about what we need to do to contribute at a global level in making sure that everything that we are doing in our own countries becomes sustainable. And what this conference has done, especially bringing us here in Qatar, is a reminder that whilst we influence and whatever we are doing in our respective countries, and I'll speak personally from a South African perspective, because within my organization, 80% of our producers in South Africa, not just the small artisanal ones, but even medium miners, small miners, and even some of the large ones are part and parcel of our organization. We sit at least every quarter because we are busy with the government discussing some of the legislative issues. And I'm walking away knowing that in those meetings, one of the biggest things that we have to discuss as South Africa is, why have we stopped telling the South African story? Why are we lagging behind? Why are we not part and parcel of these conversations? Because I think at some point we took it for granted. So this conference has really, really reminded us that we need to be part and parcel of the reason why it was so easy for me to, when Richard asked if there was a fund, would you say yes? And my answer was quick. It was not ignorance. It was me saying that it's my responsibility to go back as an industry leader and sit, with the producers and say, let's contribute towards marketing who we are. Because when we don't, people forget. And unfortunately, that's what is happening now with natural diamonds. And it's so refreshing to see the eagerness coming from everybody else, because I can tell you that when we have the support coming from a global perspective, it makes the discussions easier, even with our respective governments. So thank you so much. Let's continue with this until we achieve the goals that we're wanting to achieve. And the last one on my side, the Kimberley process, because especially in South Africa, I am part of the Diamond Leadership Council, which DBS is part of, and the Petra Diamonds and a couple of others. And in those discussions we've been having, the issue of the Kimberley process has been coming up a lot since the G7 sanctions. There's been a lot of confusion with regards to what is actually happening. Why does it look like we are fighting within, within the industry? Are we not on the same page? But this conference in Qatar is leaving me knowing, and I can go back to the Diamond Leadership Council saying that, you know what, our Kimberley process, it stands. Yes, can we make it better? Of course, let's contribute. But then at the same time, the industry is still on the same page. So thank you for this conference.
First of all, thank you, Paula. And we need to keep in mind that what we are doing today is very different from any other conference. Never, ever, the conference lasted more than 1.5, 2 days. Today is Friday, it's a prayer day, and people have, local people have the obligation to go to their families. So my suggestion would be not to let them wait until we finish our deliberations or until we continue our deliberations, which could be done outside, and it could be done on one-on-one or in groups, because I think we have triggered the debate, and this was the whole point of having this conference here, to trigger the debate, to make people discuss between themselves. On this note, I would like first of all to thank the team who has produced this conference: Jacob, Irina, Artyom, Rania, 9 Dots, our endless suppliers, the management of the Net Hotel, who went to great lengths to help us do it, and to everybody else who was involved. And if I forget someone, I apologize up front.
Well, we need to thank you, Alex, because you are the big engine behind it.
That's what I was fishing for. Thank you. Thank you for coming. It was a pleasure to host you here. It's a pleasure to bring you here so you will see this country. This is one of the few countries in the world where the most of the people have never been. So I see this as achievement to bring people who never been here. But most people know Qatar from the airport, which is very nice, but it's not enough. And I hope those who came here out of the airport will also admire this place, will admire the quality of life, the quality of services, and the quality of people here. And I hope that the same people who are tremendously well educated in branding and in luxury, like Abdullah just said, you speak with people in the street, they know things that people nowhere in the world know. And I think it's a very good sign for our industry that will bring big achievements in the future. Thank you very much for coming.